my talk will be about MySQL in Kubernetes. It is a my talk will be, as I said, it will be about MySQL and Kubernetes. It will be today we will be talking about two of the biggest open source projects in my particular lifetime. So, uh, first of all, I'm really honored to be presenting this on DOK Explorers Day, and let's just get into it. So, when I was first asked to give a talk on DOK Explorers Day and to basically talk about deploying MySQL applications in Kubernetes, my first thought was, first of all, I'm greatly honored. Second of all, how the hell am I going to present that? I don't know anything about this because I'm a beginner. So I went to the best friend that all beginners have on open source, and that friend being Google. And here's what Google had to say about it. So my Google told me about MySQL operator in Kubernetes, and Google said, and these are the exact words. Be sure I have edited some out because it was getting into a very lengthy definition. That Kubernetes uses stateful sets to create replicas and operators to run stateful applications. Now that is a very dangerous definition. When I first saw that, I was like blown away. Like, what is this? I don't understand any of this. Uh, and I think that is many of our first response to open source as well. Like we see this case, so many GitHub repositories. We see so many people posting about it on Twitter, and we see so many people making such incredible progress. And we are like, what is this? I don't think I can do that. And so so when I first saw that, originally I was preparing an entire list of topics like I'll discuss this, I'll discuss this, I'll discuss this. But then when I saw this, I decided to take a step back and just approach this particular definition that, of course, our friend Mr. Google had given me. So first of all, let us discuss what does this singular statement mean. And by the end of this talk, I hope that you guys will understand this statement, and that fear that all beginners face, that it will be gone. So first of all, what is Kubernetes uses stateful sets to create replicas and operators to run stateful applications. So let's take it from the one. What are stateful applications? So there are two types of application we have. First, they are stateful, and others are, as you people might guess, stateless. So in stateless applications, these in both of these applications are classified basis on what changes we can incur to its state by interacting with it. That is a simple explanation. For example, have you ever googled something, and you watched in your search history, the next day when you went it, the link, instead of being blue, it turned purple. That means that the Google page, that the Google search engine remembered that you once clicked on this link. That remembrance is what we are talking about, and where that remembrance is stored. So when we interact with any application, when we interact with any web page or anything, we change its state, and where that state is stored is basically classifies them as either stateless or stateful. Stateless applications, as you might guess, they don't have a state of their own. Whenever they receive any queries, any information, any request for information, they ask the database to draw they draw it from the database, and then they they give us the answer to our query. For example, Wikipedia. You click on a Wikipedia link. You get the information about Wikipedia in front of you, and that's that. Uh, but state so but state stateful applications are different. Stateful applications do not have their basic that same basic uh, non storage of state. Stateful applications remember you, where they remember your interaction with them. They remember when you have talked to them. They remember how you have interacted with them. Basically, they will store the state in which you interact with them. So you can say, well, Yasharth, obviously stateless applications are better. You can connect a stateless application to a database, and you can pass the query to the stateless application, and the database will supply that query. That seems like a fairly logical system. The problem is, while that works for public repositories and such, that system will not work if a limited amount of people are using it and accessing mostly the same type of data from it, since it will unnecessarily increase the network traffic. So what stateful application does, it remembers what the user asked for before in its own. Remember, both of them remember what the user asked for, but the difference is where they remember. The stateless application stores that remembrance in their databases, while the stateful application stores that remembrance within themselves. And so you and so these that's the basic idea of stateful applications. Now, here we have, so basically we have Kubernetes. Kubernetes is basically an application deployer, and it is built to deploy stateless applications. Now, MySQL, like all databases, are by definition a stateful application. So therein lies our first problem, that MySQL is built to deploy stateless applications, while all databases are stateful applications. So we get these. So then, what do we do from here? So the answer here is pretty simple. First of all, let us approach it from the point of view of a stateless application. You have a stateless application, you want to deploy it on Kubernetes. That is the easiest thing in the world to do. You basically you go to Kubernetes, you deploy it, it creates pods, which are basically replicas of that different of that application, of that stateless application. Those pods are completely identical to each other, and they can and they can be used for scaling up your operations. Now, now you come to stateful applications. Now, what do you do with stateful applications? You again create pods. The difference here is, um, and in stateless applications, by the way, you create them with a replica set, a deployment. You deploy them with a replica set. uh, Now, in the stateful applications, you deploy them with a stateful set. uh, First, now, what exactly does a stateful set do, and how does it differ? So, as I said earlier, in stateful applications, you already have your programs packed in the site. You already have the information inside your programs now, and that is a very dangerous thing if you are replicating and increasing the scale of the data. So that might for that, we have to make sure that two things. First, all the replicas, all the different forms, they are communicating perfectly with each other. The second thing which we have to make sure of is that all the is that there uh, the second thing which we have to make sure of is that there they have there is one master, and there are the other facets. That means that only one database will be allowed to write, and both read and write, while the others will only be allowed to read. This is to prevent confusion, as many of you might be able to guess. So what so that basically tells us, so, we have deployed a stateful application, but our journey is not over yet. So all those different operators where I was talking about, yeah, you will have to manually manage them, to make sure that there is no conflict, that there is no problem in your system, and as such. Now, this brings up a big problem. The entire point of Kubernetes is to automate the application deployment process. Is that you don't have to do anything manually. Kubernetes will do it for you. Now, this brings us the question: if you can't have the automation, why use Kubernetes? Which is a fantastic question, and the answer to that is that operating is something that can only be done by a human. By It can only be done manually. So of course, we as programmers chose the obvious path and we automated it. And that is how we get the MySQL operator in Kubernetes. Uh, the MySQL operator in Kubernetes at its most basic level is what Kubernetes provides us with as a substitute for manual operations to deploy stateful applications. Kubernetes is still built basically at the end of the day for stateless applications. But with operators, we can use it to deploy stateful applications like databases as well. uh, f- about uh, about There are many different databases that can be used, but one which I would recommend is Percona. And Percona is a server for MySQL. It basically optimizes your query. It is a fork of SQL MySQL that has been running for about 7 to 8 years, and it is an open source project and has consistent updates in it. Uh, the biggest advantage that Percona provides us with is that in MySQL, many of our queries are not optimized as such. So helps us there in by helping us support by helping us perform more arduous queries and by performing optimization of queries. That is that is basically my theory, and I hope you understand this statement completely now. It uses stateful sets to create replicas and operators to run stateful applications. Join us at DOK community at our Slack and Twitter page. And thank you for giving me this opportunity.